Hello and welcome to another how-to video brought to you by Tim Unscripted. So this is actually a hybrid video. So the first part of this is going to be the walkthrough a particular model and why I selected it. And the second part is going to be a little bit more traditional how-to. For anyone who's not familiar with the use of Ollama as a way, basically it is a mechanism to run large language models on your machine. There's going to be a bit of that in the background. Because what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do kind of a head-to-head competition, short prompt, two models, same family, same size. So we're going to see whether or not the Linux laptop that I made the memory changes on to take and expand my pool of RAM to allow the iGPU to run 32 gigs of that system RAM can actually load this model and then subsequently generate all the tokens based on the prompt. I haven't done this before, so this is, again, a very unscripted but relatively structured video to show you what it's like. So you can see on my screen, I've got the Qwen family. And Qwen, for anybody who hasn't been following all of this, is a version of a Chinese model, all running locally in Ollama. And subsequently, this was an intentional selection on my part because we've got Qwen 3.5, which was just updated 2 months ago, which I actually pulled down a fresh version of, and 3.6, which was updated a month ago. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the details as to the differences between 3.5 and 3.6. What I will tell you, though, is that I decided that I was going to run kind of the largest version of these. And so these are 35 billion parameter models. These, to the best of my knowledge, are not mixture of expert models, but they are definitely pushing the limit of that 32 gigabytes worth of system RAM that's allocated for the integrated GPU on the Pangolin 15. That being said, let's get into the actual head-to-head. So what I've done here is I've pulled up in the terminal the help steps, which are going to come into play once the prompts have started running. And by the way, you can see I am on my Pop! OS machine right here using RustDesk as my access tool. And I've got the prompt for 3.6. Oh, you know what? That's not going to work. This is funny. So let's see, because this is good that I'm catching it before it fails out. Okay, copy. And Control-Shift-V, which is paste. And definitely with that one typo, would have said, yeah, I can't do that. So here we go. And we're not seeing any activity at this point. Normally, I would expect to see a little kind of box moving around. This is not a good sign, folks. In fact, this is a sign that maybe, just maybe, I have exceeded the capability of what my system is able to run already out of the gate, which wouldn't surprise me because I like pushing things. If you haven't watched the videos in the past, you know this. So that being said, I want to look to see over here if that model is even running. So let's go Ollama, and this is where the how-to comes in, PS. So if you notice, this PS command allows us to see which models are actually running in memory. We don't have anything running at this point in time, so this indicates that this has not loaded up at all. So let's do this. We've got Ollama run Qwen 3.5, and you can see that I've got a list of models. So we've got 35B here. This is 27B, which we may end up having to fall back to. And then we've got 3.6 35B over here. So I'm going to kick this one off to see if this will run. Yes, look at that. It's actually loading up. So I have no idea, folks, why the other model wasn't loading up at 3.5. Oh, look at that. Now we're off to the races. Okay. And let's see where this is all running. I am looking for anything that indicates that this is running on the CPU, and it looks like everything is running on the GPU. So this is really great because it means that everything loaded up the way it needed to in that dedicated system RAM space as it was designed. You can see it's running through the process of thinking about the output. So let's go back here. Let's do this. And sure enough, we've got Qwen 3.5B, Qwen 3.5, 35 billion in GPU memory. So there we go at 23 gig. And by the way, in watching videos from other YouTube channels, I know that Qwen and the 3 series models are some of the most capable out there. They're good day-to-day general purpose models, especially if you're in a space where you want to run a model and it's for routine tasks. And I say this from the standpoint of not necessarily writing a story routine task, but routine tasks where you know you don't need access to a cloud-based model in order to get the work done. And I say this from the standpoint of I use cloud-based models in my day-to-day work professionally, and I see the value in them, and I see the value in having a subscription. And if you haven't seen my video about my thoughts on the future being hybrid, both local models as well as cloud-based models, I would encourage you to take a look at that. And you can see that Qwen is rolling through this pretty stinking quickly. So let me flip back here and let's try and figure out why this isn't working. So I'm just going to clear this. Let's go by. There's something loaded up, or Control-C, which is escape. Let's do this. Boy, by the way, I'm not going to load this up until after the other model has done its run. So it only took 2 minutes and 14 seconds. 9 seconds to load. Prompt eval was 24. And this is pretty quick, if you ask me. So that was 3.5. Let's go back up here to see all of this. So 3.5, 35 billion parameter model, and you get to see all the thinking. So Qwen 3.5, 35B, and it's verbose, and that was how we got the results at the end of it. And we're going to go back here to the same prompt, but using 3.6. But first, let's unload this because it's still warm in memory. So this is that how-to piece I was talking to you about. So Ollama, stop. Oh, come on. Space, Qwen 3.5, 5B. Oh, seriously. This is what I get for trying to type and record at the same time. And then I'm going to pull this up to show that, hey, by the way, that model is not loaded. And now I'm flip back. And oh, by the way, we notice that there's no loading here either in the GTT or the virtual RAM. And so we're in a good spot, assuming that this is actually going to work this time. And of course it's not, which is silly. So I have no idea, folks, why this is not loading up. I mean, this is really weird. And I'm going to take a look at this Ollama list. This gives us a list of all the models I've got downloaded. Qwen 3.6 35B. I could have sworn I had this running at some point. So let's do this. Although this is not nearly as big, it is in the same family to do a bit of troubleshooting. Okay, Ollama, run. Oh, I know why. Capitalized. That won't do it. 6, 35B, verbose. One little capital letter is probably what screwed this whole thing up. And instead of copying all of that, copy that. Seriously? Oh, yeah. See, this is the worst part, working in the terminal. Control-Shift-V. And now I get to delete all these special characters out. And now we've got a load. That will hang you up. This is the funniest thing about these videos. Sometimes I do it to myself unintentionally. I get into the video, I know what I'm planning to do, and I start executing, and then it's like, oh my gosh, Tim, if you had just checked to make sure that you didn't capitalize the Q on Qwen, the model would have run. And sure enough, it did run. And it appears that it will be running at about the same rate as the previous model. And sure enough, we're completely loaded up. Yep, 85% of the VRAM in addition to the 70% there. And it doesn't appear that we have anything running on the CPU, which is great. And let's go back here to see that. And we're going to do an Ollama PS. And yes, we've got this loaded up. And we see it generating all the tokens from the thinking process. And so once that's done, we'll actually see the output of this. So getting back to the whole cloud model piece, I want to always be very careful about what I am advocating because I know that economics plays into all of these choices. And I do consider them choices. I consider these to be optional for many people, not all people, but many people. Having capable hardware in your own home or capable hardware in your office to run models locally is going to really lower the cost of operating large language models, specifically, generative artificial intelligence models, not all models, but generative models, because so much of this is contained on the hardware. CapEx versus OpEx being the cloud. This is where I sit back and I go, there is going to be this balance that most of us are going to seek to achieve. And so subsequently, it's going to be this blend. I don't know what that blend looks like for you. I'm not sure, but I will say this, based on what you're seeing today, and this is laptop hardware, folks. This is actually older. I purchased this, I guess, a year ago in May. It doesn't even have an AI processor per se. It has a first generation AMD NPU, but there's a lot of capability in that XDNA architecture that I can't access and make it work for me. And this is not an AI processor per se. This is a laptop processor with an NPU, and again, that NPU is limited in its capability. But I'm doing all of this demo stuff to show that, hey, there's a lot of capability that you can get out of even legacy hardware that would be helpful for where you're at today. So 3 minutes, I think this was a bit slower. Eval rate, and eval duration. Let's flip back here. Yep, wow. So the newer model actually took a longer period of time to get things generated and running. Although the eval rate was better at 22.64 tokens per second, definitely 2 minutes and 39 seconds versus 2 minutes and 4 seconds. So, and the eval count, 2,900 tokens and 3616. So this is, they're close. And of course, we are at a point where, all of this is still warmly loaded in the memory. And let me go back here and show you that it's still there. You know, these commands, by the way, are really helpful. So Ollama, help. If you ever get stuck and you're looking for the right command to run, you've got the large language model runner commands right here at your fingertips, and also the associated flags. So this is definitely the more how-to piece of the video. So I'm going to probably record another video on the heels of this. I haven't exactly figured out which agent or harness I want to run with. I'm doing some deliberation because I did actually install OpenClaw on this machine, but I'm thinking Hermes might be the better option. And looking at the model pairing between Hermes and X model, or OpenClaw and X model. Notice I'm not decided, I haven't committed to running one agent or another. But these are a series of kind of pop-up videos that I'm hoping to come out with. Please do check out the actual planned and executed video series on the Ollama 1 that I have running right now. That playlist is live, and I think I'm on episode 3 or episode 4 now. Very fascinating from the standpoint of I put together a concept and I'm walking through making that concept work. So hopefully that's of interest to you. It's the Ollama Project playlist. Check it out. Give me some likes, give me some subscribes on that. Let me know that you're enjoying it. Yes, I know it drags, but hey, by the way, taking the feedback in the comments on this particular video, I think I'm just going to speed it up a little bit so that it isn't as boring, I suppose. To those people who like watching the videos and like seeing this and go through, that's perfectly acceptable. Anyway, I'm rambling now. So you've just finished another how-to video brought to you by Tim Unscripted. Take care, and I'll see you soon.